if people are educated on how Bitcoin can help them, at the individual level, at the family level, at the community level, at the business level, they will act in their own self-interest. And by acting in their own self-interest, everyone benefits too,
Gotcha.
because we're getting sound money. But it is that, maybe not every person adopting Bitcoin is created equal. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If the CEO of General Electric or GM figured out why Bitcoin was money and why sound money was the key to their companies surviving and all their employees continuing to have jobs and their ability to build better cars, well, that one CEO is figuring out Bitcoin may matter more than somebody down the line at GM or down the line at GE. And while Bitcoin solves a problem for everyone, kind of a rifle shot approach to get people that can otherwise stymie or put up roadblocks or make our lives more difficult, would be better, kind of accelerating their path to understanding Bitcoin. Like if you could get Jay Powell to figure out why his entire life has been a disaster, and that Bitcoin is the answer, like causing that domino to fall has far faster ripple effects than maybe somebody else learning about Bitcoin.
Nayib Bukele in El Salvador or Michael Saylor, bold in their own fronts, right? Nayib Bukele on the nation state level, Michael Saylor on the public company front. But yeah, I agree, right? Because they're proving that Bitcoin is a viable alternative to holding fiat or using fiat currencies. So I completely agree. Now, Parker, I come from I am extremely bullish for the next 5-10 years, just because I think that the next cycle, I think those two gentlemen, those two guys, are really going to prove. They're going to prove a lot of the mainstream consensus. I hate calling it mainstream. Really, the corporate media, better said, the corporate media narrative that Bitcoin is a bad thing. This is going to destabilize El Salvador. That's one of the things that I heard. Not so many attacks on Michael Saylor, but mostly on El Salvador. I think that by the next cycle, whenever it comes, it's going to be undeniable that these two gentlemen made the right decision. And then tie this in with the FASB news that dropped today and the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. So to speak, figuratively, it really does seem like all the stars and all the planets are aligning for Bitcoin. Like I'm extremely optimistic and very, very bullish about the next couple of years. I think we might see something that we aren't expecting. I would love to get your take.
I think that I do think that both of those individuals, Bukele and who I do not know, never talked to, only observing from afar, as well as Saylor, again, who I do not know well, but had a few conversations, that time will prove them to have been both bold and be rewarded for it. I think that that each one, I think, sets a precedent, and that they're not the only precedents that are important, but they are important precedents at the same time. And so I don't know if it's necessarily that the stars are aligning, but that the longer the Bitcoin kind of continues to move forward with each passing cycle, something else is true, which is that the fiat system is kind of nearer and nearer to its death throes. And that at the same time that the trains coming off the rails or wheels coming off the bus, whatever analogy you want to use, that Bitcoin development and adoption and knowledge distribution only continues to grow, that things will continue to accelerate, and things will become more and more obvious to more and more people, with kind of reaching a level where public companies are buying and holding Bitcoin and nation states are starting to adopt it, that Bitcoin can't be nothing and vaporware at the same time that these other things are true that are deeply fundamental. So I do think, but I think it will always be true that kind of Bitcoin always seems primed to take a more significant step forward, but that will always be the case as it gets larger and larger. And also, I think it's the government media, not the corporate media.
Interesting. What makes you say it's the government? I mean, supposedly these are private companies.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're co-opted by the government. As we saw post lockdown, and how they push pharmaceuticals, and how everybody basically becomes like fan champion. Everyone who's a fan of the media is now suddenly a fan of like Pfizer. Like Pfizer's like the best thing since sliced bread. That basically the large corporation interests are co-opted by the government.